Hallo zusammen, I'm your Vlog Dave, and this is gonna be the second video about the new Rammstein song Ausländer, Foreigner, because I've already talked about the lyrics of the song, what they actually express to me, what they sound like to me, but I haven't watched the new video for that single yet, which I wanted to do with you guys, so to speak. However, I am not allowed to include the actual video or the actual audio in my videos. But don't worry, because you can still watch along with me, so to speak, because you can click the video, you can start the video at the same time that I'm gonna do that, because I'm gonna count you down from 3 to 1, and I'm also gonna show you when to click play. So let's do it that way. You can find a link to the actual music video in the video description down below, so that shouldn't be a problem either. I'm stoked because Rammstein music videos are always awesome, I think. Maybe almost as ambiguous as Till Linnemann's lyrics are most of the time. So let's check out the new music video to Ausländer. If you have two screens, put this video on one screen and the music video on the other screen. That way you can easily listen to the song and jump to the respective parts I'm talking about while watching this video on the other screen. So before I'm gonna start watching the video and give my, well, first impression, so to speak, I just want to state that this video right here isn't about the lyrics in the first place. So if you want to learn more about the lyrics and what they translate to in English, what my German interpretation of those lyrics is, doesn't necessarily have to be, well, the general interpretation, of course, but that's just mine. Feel free to watch that video, which you can find at the end of this one in the end card. So let's actually click the video, let's click play in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, the boat actually says MS Rammstein, so that's the name of the boat, which in German are usually feminine, by the way. Mhm. Fucking lions, okay. Well, why not? Flagge. Oh. He's always the coolest in all of the videos, actually, I'd say. Oh, I like that. Oh. Just gonna state that later. Okay, that's a different outro. Sounds nice though. This way. I actually really like this version. Maybe also because, well, that's one of my favorite melodies in the song. Oh, Flake. Awesome. Flake is always the coolest guy in all of the videos, I think. Like, for instance, when you think of the Keine Lust video, which is also really awesome, and all of the guys are fat or in fat suits, except for Flake. He isn't. And he, well, in German, we would say something like, tanzt aus der Reihe. He's out of the norm, so to speak, in comparison to the other guys. He's dressed differently, he appears differently, which is cool, because he actually is a pretty fine detail in all of those music videos. So, what do I like about this one? It clearly is a big difference. I mean, not just from what's shown and the content, the plot, so to speak, when you compare it to, for instance, both Deutschland and Radio. Both videos in particular are very, well, not very saturated videos in terms of color or color schemes, whereas this one is really bright and really lines up with the overall feel of the song, I think, which is way more light and happier and, well, dancey, as I've already mentioned in my previous video. Well, the video basically resembles the tone of the song, the mood of the song, which is pretty different compared to most Rammstein songs, which doesn't necessarily have to be bad, it's just different. So what's interesting is that in my lyrics interpretation video, I actually thought, and still think, by the way, this song is also about sex tourism, like being a foreigner, which you can also be as a German, of course, in other countries, and having sex there, or, well, traveling to other countries primarily to have sex with other people there. But in this case, there's a new level to that, because this is pretty much a, well, an ironic take on colonialism, I'd say. I don't really know for sure where this was shot, but I think it could be somewhere in Africa, which would fit because we had a few colonies back there, back in the day. And with we, I mean Germany and the Deutsches Reich back then, back in the day, which was formed in 1871 and which lasted until the end of World War I. Back in the 19th century, Otto von Bismarck pretty much was a major figure in forming the Deutsches Reich, the German Empire. If I'm not mistaken, I think at first he was a bit hesitant regarding having colonies and colonialism, which in German, by the way, is der Kolonialismus. And die Kolonie Singular, die Kolonien Plural, the colonies themselves. He was a bit hesitant at first, I think, also because, well, it's quite expensive to go to other countries, and, well, also a bit risky maybe. There were rather private Kolonialgesellschaften, we would call them in German. But I think in later years, like a couple of years after the formation of the Deutsches Reich, he actually saw more advantages regarding colonialism and having colonies, especially in Africa down there, because, I mean, the major reason for having colonies would be an increase of power. Well, both Macht, die Macht, the power, so to speak, for instance in political terms, and also der Einfluss, singular, die Einflüsse, plural. I'm sure they thought it would be easier to trade in the first place because you might have more partners to trade with, and you might also have other partners or find other partners to trade with because of the different place, the different spot on the world map, so to speak. Other countries that might already had a, well, relation with your new colony, which was a different country before that, not under your reign. And as far as I'm concerned, Germany lost all its colonies, I think around 1919, 1920 with the Versailler Vertrag, which was a Friedensvertrag. But coming back to my interpretation of the lyrics before watching this video, which was primarily about sex tourism from a German's perspective, it sort of also fits the video because, as we've seen in a couple of scenes, there were sexual, arousements going on, sexual intercourse, of course, with the lions, for instance, which, because of that tone, also criticizes the colonialism. So I think those two interpretations, if you want to, see them separated in the first place, they pretty much fit. And one of the comments I got under my lyrics interpretation video from one of you guys was actually related to the music video as well. When you think of the lyrics, ein scharfes Schwert im Wortgefecht mit dem anderen Geschlecht, a sharp sword in the battle of words with the other sex or the other gender. Das Geschlecht in German could also be interpreted and translated to the tribe, which in German could be translated to der Volksstamm. That could be a direct reference, an ambiguous reference, therefore a highly ambiguous reference from the lyrics and what's shown in the video. Also, an interesting observation, which also lines up with the lyrics, is that Till's figure in the video, which is, by the way, also wearing a Christian cross, which is an interesting, aspect as well. He is actually teaching the children a foreign language. He actually says that and mentions that through the lyrical eye in the lyrics as well. It's good to know other languages because then you can actually, get in touch with female foreigners easier, so to speak. You can see how, an African man, I think it was, is supposed to learn to play the saxophone. Once again, the idea of exporting your ideals and your culture, that's there as well. So while this video is meant to be a first initial reaction, I don't want to rewatch the video right now, but I want to go back to a certain scene, a certain snippet, which I actually spotted, which I think showed a date, which I want to check out and find real quick. Let me see. So the old photo shows the numbers 4473 1600, which might refer to the year 1600, which I think wasn't a year in which we, as Germans, actually had colonies already, which might as well be another common thing Rammstein love to do, and their music video directors especially, that there are certain elements in the music videos which are not really limited to a certain time frame. They are pretty much mixed together and melted. You could also see that in the Radio music video, for instance, because all the guys wore different suits in that sense, and they didn't really all fit to one specific time period. It was a mixture of many different ingredients, so to speak, cultural contexts and different clothes. But things like these also give the music videos, especially Rammstein's music videos, which are really deep in the sense of, many levels and layers to it, which you can actually see and perceive, maybe just not from the first time watching it, but watching it over and over again, you really see new details here and there, and I love things like that. So all in all, a really interesting and once again thought-provoking music video. I want to just actually find out what you make of this, if this actually lines up with your initial impression what the song is or could be about. There might as well be many different influences that came into making the song and composing the song, writing the lyrics. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a right or totally right and totally wrong way to interpret these things. I mean, of course, there are certain parameters that I think the guys want you to realize and to notice. For instance, that this is an ironic take and that they don't glorify colonialism. I think these kinds of different layers and, possible interpretations make watching, especially Rammstein music videos, a real joy. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video as well. If you did, let me know by leaving a like, by leaving a comment, and maybe also by sharing this video with others, which would be highly appreciated because it really helps a little channel like mine. Of course, I'm also gonna watch the video more times now and maybe see if I can find some new details for me personally. But this was my first initial impression. I hope you enjoyed this, and well, yeah, thanks for watching. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.